Hi guys. I'm going to have my phone here just in case I sort of go off piste because I don't want to overrun too much and just make sure I've got some notes to look towards. Just to talk to you a little bit about myself, who I am. Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, I'm an ex-professional rugby player many, many years ago and a couple of stone ago. And I discovered something called, I had to retire because I had a double eye socket fracture. And in my time from that, my rehabilitation, I discovered something called CrossFit. I don't know if any of you have heard of CrossFit. If any of you got Netflix, there's a couple of documentaries on there called The Fittest on Earth and films like that. Talk to you a little bit about the CrossFit Games, which I was lucky enough to go to this year, and I've coached a couple of athletes that have been there and competed at a European regional level as well. I won European Championships back in 2015 now. So I was okay, I'm not bad. Probably more of a coach than I am an athlete now. I want to sort of talk to you a little bit about that side of things as well. I wasn't just an athlete, I was a sports nutritionist. I own a brand called Catris Nutrition where I've done sports nutrition and worked with some top physique models, bodybuilders, people like Flex Lewis, people like that you might have heard of. I've worked with for years, helping those guys get stage ready for that side of things. And I own a gym in Cardiff as well. So of course, with all my expertise being in training, coaching, nutrition, I'm going to talk to you about social media. That makes sense, doesn't it? So I was picked up by a brand back in 2015 when I won the European Championships. Was an up-and-coming brand at the time, is now quite a well-known brand. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to drop it in there, so I won't. And they picked me up based on my achievements, based on what I did as an athlete. And about 3 months later, I got dropped by that brand because, I quote, I didn't post enough on Instagram. That sort of resonated with me a little bit. And at that time, Instagram was not a new thing, but it was starting to become a big way that brands were using advertising, and they were using these things called influencers were just becoming a thing. And people would turn around and say, this company would turn around and say, oh, you know, we want you posting every day. We want you holding this drink. We want you showing this and telling us the benefits. And basically bullshitting, lying, telling them that this stuff is amazing when it wasn't actually making that much of a difference other than giving me a little bit of product and making sure I wasn't going thirsty throughout the day and having to pay for my own product. And I didn't feel comfortable with that. And it's not something I've ever felt comfortable with. I work with a couple of brands that are friends of mine that I want to help those guys, but that's more of a personal preference than it is me trying to influence anybody else. It's trying to help those guys out. And when I look now at what I've seen and what happens you've probably all seen things like this. I mean, show of hands, how many people in that break then just check their social media? Went on Instagram, Facebook, more than half of you, yeah? Just gone on Instagram, gone on Facebook, gone on whatever. And how many of you would have seen a photo potentially like this of a skinny physique lady promoting some skinny tea or some detox or some new plan that they've just done, or a big jacked guy turning around and saying, oh yeah, I take this supplement 3 times a day and now I look like Arnold Schwarzenegger because it's just that easy, yeah? And this is the sort of thing that we're bombarded with day in, day out. The problem that we've got is this is becoming more and more of a trend, and people are starting to post things and losing integrity. People are starting to step away, and this is what I call the online effect, is that you see trends. These trends are things, it's always been a thing. You know, fashion has been a trend way before social media, way before the internet even existed. Yeah, the internet is an amazing thing. Technology is an amazing thing. We had a speaker earlier talking about how technology has improved our ability to see, improved our ability across the board, just makes life better. It's open sourced information, it's allowed us to communicate and all that other stuff. But there's problems with these trends as well. There's a couple of things I just want to touch on. The thing that most commonly, these are just things that grind my gears. One is what we call the hustle, the whole hard work pays off thing. That is a great message, and that is true. People are now more concerned about posting about the hard work that they're doing rather than actually doing hard work. Oh, look how hard I'm working. Hang on, I'm just going to go set up my camera to make it look like I've just done something while I'm sweating in the gym, when actually I'm spending more time on my phone and social media. As a gym owner, I see this all the time, literally all the time. I've got members in my gym. I've got a member in my gym who is an influencer. Her job is to post on Instagram. That's her full-time job. Gets over £2,000 a month for Instagram posts. Do you think she cares about what she actually does in the gym? Bollocks. She cares about where the camera angle is and making sure things are poking out where they should be poking out. Okay? That, for me, that's an issue, and that's a problem, that's a trend that we're seeing going forward. See things like false humility. This is another thing that grinds my gears. When people turn around and say, you know, I'm going to use a lot of fitness examples, that's my remit. I'm probably the only person up here that's come up in shorts and T-shirts. But you'll see people that'll turn around and maybe they're lifting something particularly heavy, and they put on their post, oh, it's a bad day at the office, this felt really heavy today. It is heavy. Like people that can't lift that, how do you think they feel seeing that? That's a bad day in the office for you. That's something I'm probably never going to lift in my life. That negative impact that has on other people's mental health, we talked about earlier when you're saying about how mental health can be affected. Well, social media can massively negatively affect mental health. If you turn around and you see somebody that's apparently having a bad day in the office and it's better than any day you've ever had, how does that make you feel about your day and about where your life's going, if that's something you're aspiring to be? And that's the loss of integrity I'm talking about. People are living a lie. People are turning around and actually changing the way that they're posting because they're worried about gaining followers, losing followers, and all this other stuff. That's not actually what it should be about. It's about honesty. If you had a bad day, there's nothing wrong with posting and saying I've had a bad day. But don't turn around and have a good day and say it's a bad day just because you're trying to make yourself look better for everybody else and gain all this following, gain all this traction, and just get everybody sort of singing off your hymn sheet and say, oh, what a good guy he is. Make sense? And the problem's growing. These little posts, by the way, I'm just going to flick back to them. Little posts I've got here, ironically, a post that I've put up on social media. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but these are all just posts that I put up. And I do a little bit of writing about that side of things. I do sort of one in every 5 or 6 posts. I'll just sort of have a little rant and a rave, pretty much saying about how bad social media is. And the problem's growing. So there are a couple of things that we look at. It's unmoderated content. You know, you can post whatever you want to do. That's your page. You can post that. And if you've got a load of followers, people will believe you. You know, I'm a level 4 sports nutritionist. I've spoken for hours and hours and hours on end on the smallest molecules about creatine monohydrate and stuff like that to doctors and helping those side of things. And then there's somebody that's never done a day in their life working in the nutrition industry, never developed a product, never developed a supplement, will turn around because they've got 100,000 followers and argue with something I'm saying, and they're going to get more traction. That's not right. Yeah, it's unmoderated, and people can just sort of say what they want to say. And more importantly, if a brand gives them a little backhander, they can sort of influence people to listen to their opinion. We see it with all these Insta celebrities. Yeah. These are just 2 little facts that I just didn't want to leave out and make sure I didn't leave out. But in 2019, over 30% of children, they ask this in schools all the time. If any of you got kids, they probably ask your kids the same thing. I got asked when I was a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I wanted to be a doctor. That's what I wanted to be. You know, I got accepted to Oxford to do medicine. I ended up bottling it, going to UWIC and playing rugby for 4 years, drinking beer. I had a great time. But now, over 30% of children, their answer is famous. Famous for what? Don't care. I just want to be famous. This year, for the first time ever, over 15% of children said they want to be an influencer as their job. They want to be a social media presence. That's why they want to be famous. Just let that sink in a second and let that resonate with you. Think about what you wanted to be when you were a kid and why you wanted to be what you wanted to be. I know why they want to be a social media. It's easy. All I've got to do is take a couple of snaps, live my life, do the stuff the way I want to do it, live your best life, that thing they say, yeah, and just post about it. Cool. What is that actually saying to everybody else? What's that saying to your kids? What's that saying to everybody else that's growing up? Oh yeah, actually, you don't need to work hard. You just need to show people that you're working hard. I think that's a problem. I think that's an issue that we're seeing this trend growing, and it's something that we want to buck that trend. I'm not all going to be doom and gloom. I think there is a solution, and this is what I'm going to touch on about the posts that I've made. I don't know if you managed to have a little read of the quotes that have been up there. Something that I do every day, and I was doing it more from a mental health point of view personally, is that every morning I read for 15 minutes about somebody that inspires me. I've got a list this long, ironically, on my phone, notes. And people message me on Instagram, on social media every day. Every day I do a load of quotes. If you do want to give me a follow, you can do that. I don't care how many I've got. I think I've got a few. But it's that every day I'll write 5, 6, 7 quotes of somebody that's inspired me. I'll read about that person first, and everything they've all got something in common. They've all gone through some form of adversity, and they've all come out the other side, and that adversity is just a chapter in their life. And I'll take quotes that can be talking about that specific thing. It can be a general quote, it could be anything like that, and I'll post those. Part of a little bit of my middle finger going up to this brand was they said that you don't post every day. So I was like, cool, I'm going to post every day, but guess what? I'm going to post what I want to post. I'm not going to post what you want me to post. So I started posting these inspirational quotes. I started posting things that I think people need to be hearing and need to be seeing, and stuff that should be resonating people, rather than me getting my top off, holding a drink and saying, hey, If you want abs like me, drink this stuff. Okay? So what's the solution? I think the solution is that we take control over our own content. We post what we want to post, and we are honest about what we're doing. Why do we post these things? Well, write it. Instagram, I used as an example, is the one that I use all the time, is a great tool for that. You take a picture and you can post a caption. That caption can be as long as you want it to be, within reason. You can get quite a bit of content in there. So I can turn around and I can do something and say, hey, the reason that I'm posting this quote, just pick the one there, right actions, undertaken for the right reasons, generally lead to good outcomes over time. I think that's a good message. Not everybody's going to be perfect 100% of the time, but if you do the right thing or you make the right choices most of the time and you continually do that, the likelihood of you succeeding in what you want to do, in what we consider or what I consider to be genuine success is much higher. So write that, put that out there, rather than just turn around and put in a funky little caption under a picture of you with your bum out. Yeah? You might get more likes that way, but I've actually gained more likes, more followers, more anything like than I ever knew I could since doing this sort of stuff, because it's resonating with real people. It's resonating with people sitting around here listening to this sort of stuff, that actually people aren't perfect. People do make mistakes. And if you can communicate that and be honest about that side of things and be real, then you're more likely to push things in the right direction and away from these trends that we're starting to see, and brands trying to force feed you images, force feed you negative imagery, and force feed you a highlight reel of what people are supposed to be. And I just want to leave you with this. This is something that changed my life. It's the most simple little diagram you'll ever see. Things that matter and things that you can control. Yeah? Lots of things matter that you can't control. There's a crash on the M4, you're on your way to something. You're going to be late. Yeah, that matters. I'm going to be late for a meeting. I was going to be late for this if there was a crash. That would matter. Can I control it? No, I can't do anything about that. I can't physically change what has happened in front of me. So why stress? Why worry about that? I'm going to turn around and say, hey, I can't do anything about that. What can I do? Okay, I can message Fran, who's invited me here today, and say, hey, look, just so you know, I'm stuck in traffic. I might be a little bit late. Please let people know that they're not going to get their Instagram fixed today. Okay, things that you can control. Yeah, what can you control? You can control your output. You can control your effort. You can control what you post on social media. More importantly, you can control who you follow on social media. If you see something and you're like, geez, she's showing me this again, it makes me feel bad every time I see this, there's an unfollow button for a reason. You don't have to follow. People ask me all the time, oh, what do you think of this famous person? I say, I've got no idea who that is. I've never watched Love Island. So, oh, you don't follow on Instagram? No, why would I? They're just spouting off a load of rubbish that doesn't resonate with me. Follow what you want to follow, the way you want to follow it, and put the content out that you want to put out. Take control over what matters for you and put that out to people. Thank you.